Hello!
And whoop! Yep, it's new console time again. Isn't this bloody weird, these kind of interstitial console releases? Well, it's basically the previous console, but it's a bit more powerful and maybe it can do 4K, but not on all the games. Bloody hell, this is strange, isn't it? Kind of cast my mind back to things like the Sega 32X, where they tried an add-on that gave extra power to your Mega Drive, although you had to buy special 32X games, whereas with these things, you kind of buy the original games that will work on a standard Xbox One, or indeed a standard PS4, but they'll run in possibly 4K or with higher frame rates or something on PS4 Pro, or indeed Xbox One X, which is the one we're looking at today, because I never did a PS4 Pro because I haven't bought one. But I've bought one of these, so I'm not entirely sure why. I think I just wanted to do a console unboxing, and now I have no money left. This isn't one of the posh media edition ones, which some people have got with all the freebies. This is one I went and bought from a shop, and I'm regretting it already. Welcome to the world of YouTube and consoles. Anyway, the whole point is, things are going 4K. People are getting the larger 4K panels. They've got more pixels. We need to film them all with games. And so Microsoft and, to a lesser extent, Sony have attempted to capture this market. Microsoft coming in later with the Xbox One X, but it has considerably more oomph behind it than the PS4 Pro. On paper, at least, how that actually translates to the real world, nobody knows yet, because there's piss-all games that are really available now which are taking advantage of this. So, yeah, it's got a 4K Blu-Ray drive. This is a good thing, and is very much missing from the PS4 Pro, which is a bloody shame, because if you try to stream 4K stuff from, Netflix or whatever, you'll notice it looks a bit shit as compared to actual 4K Blu-ray things. It does 4K Ultra HD, that just means the games are in 4K, thanks guys, and HDR, high dynamic range, which is basically means the colours look better if your telly's special. And I've got to say, that's actually a very impressive thing. You don't realise how flat colours on old televisions can be until you've seen an HDR one. That is something I approve of. I like 4K, I like HDR. Tell you what I didn't like, fucking 3D, and it turned out nobody else did either, so that was all right then. I was very disappointed when I saw that HDR was on there and discovered it was high dynamic range. I was hoping it was an abbreviation for Howie's Done Running, which is an unreleased 1980s comedy film about a monkey called Howie who's fed up of running from his problems and stands and fights them like a good monkey should. It was brilliant. John Lithgow's in it. Anyway, Xbox One X then. We'll just have a look at the hardware now, because frankly, after buying this, I can't afford any of the bloody games. And currently, there's bugger all games that are really taking advantage of it, as I said. So you've got Gears of War 4, which will do you the full 4K thing. But it sort of has a bit of a higher frame rate, but still not quite 60 frames per second as far as I can tell. Or you can turn it onto a performance mode where you get a better frame rate, although still not quite 60 as far as I can tell, and you lose the 4K, which still makes it seem a bit underpowered for an expensive new purchase. Do you know what I mean? If you're buying something new and pricey, you want it to be able to do both, not have to pick and choose. But there we are. If you want the oomph for 4K at high frame rates, you're going to have to be a member of the old PC master race and have more money than several gods. Although I think the barrier to entry is dropping a little bit, isn't it, for that kind of thing? I don't know. It's a hard thing to tell, that. And let's face it, if you're buying consoles, you probably don't want to be dealing with all the bloody faff of PC gaming, which, again, is getting better, but it's still not as easy as plugging your console in the way you go. But then again, neither is bloody console gaming now. You plug your console and you have to wait 48 years for it to update. And with these interstitial, interim, extra releases with a bit more power, it's becoming obvious that the consoles are basically just becoming PCs in sort of regulated boxes. But there we go. The HDR looked good in it, I will say that much. The only thing I've seen running on both PS4 Pro and Xbox One X actually was the latest FIFA game. They both had very bright colours from the HDR, and they both looked very, very similar and ran very, very similar, which surprised me, because there's supposed to be a lot more oomph in this. But, as I say, it's early days, isn't it? Is anything optimised as yet? Who bloody knows? That's why I don't bother particularly doing much with these past looking what you get in the box, to be honest with you, because it's all too bloody early. I tell you what is disappointing, though, right? You look at the thing on Microsoft's website that tells you all the upcoming games to take advantage of the Pro, and from it looks like the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, is only HDR, isn't actually going to be in 4K or have the option. And neither does PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Very popular streaming game, etc. But that's a game you really want it in high def or the highest definition possible, because, you know, it's easier to make out what things are at distance, which can be quite important to quick snap gameplay decisions and all that kind of thing. But don't worry, everyone, you can play Ark Survival Evolved in HDR, but not 4K. And you can also play Farming Sim 2017 in 4K. Let's just open the box. Isn't Xbox One X a shit name, by the way? Confusing. Too many X's in it. Still not as bad as the Wii U, a name so bad that still half the people in the world think it's just an add-on for the bloody Wii, especially after how many goddamn add-ons there were for that console. What a silly thing that was. They should have called it something entirely different, like Nintendo's Flump Maker. And then everyone would have been disappointed it didn't make flumps. I haven't thought that one through. Right, what do we get then? Oh, we get a big bit of cardboard. Oh God, what's going on here? Game Pass, Xbox Live Gold, right. Hang on, I'm going to look at these off camera in case they've got codes. No, I get 14 days free gold and 1 month free of endless play of downloadable game temporary pass things. Well, you know, I hope you've got a quick internet connection if you want to get into that. And here's how to connect things together using the power of wires. What a world we live in. Right, what have we got here? There's a box at the side. What's in the box at the side? I'll bet it's a bloody controller. Yep, it does indeed seem to be. We've got a nice high-speed HDMI cable with thick rubber on it. That's always nice. In here we've got the controller, which I'm going to bet is very much like a standard Xbox One controller. There's no way they're giving you an Elite, is there? I'm sure I've heard about it if so. No, that is exactly an Xbox One controller. Although the buttons up here feel a bit better than my one. Not that I've played with mine a terrific amount. I generally went to PS4 this generation because the games, well, frankly, seem to be slightly better for the same money. Also, I fucking hate the interface that Xbox are using at the moment. It seems to be full of ads and not much else. Hang on a minute. I'm going to go and grab my original Xbox One controller and see if they are different. Bing! And as if by magic, my old Xbox One controller appeared. And whilst they do appear very, very similar, except that D-pad's a bit shinier and says Day 1 2013 on it. Test the buttons. Yeah, these buttons are completely bloody different. These are those weird ones you have to rock your finger back onto, which frankly did put me off using it quite a lot. Whereas these make a lot more sense. Okay, well that's a positive change. I've got no idea when they changed that. Probably with the Xbox One S, maybe before then. I have no idea. I was not keeping abreast of it. I also took that opportunity to wash my hands, because I'd completely forgotten that I was cleaning a very dirty set of shelves before I came on camera and forgot to wash my hands. So sorry about that, guys. Fortunately, you can't catch diseases through the internet, at least not until YouTube's update next year. Right, in the actual box. Oh, man. So, the only Xbox One I have is the original one, which is the size of 14 old VHS players, weighs 90 tons, and has a fucking house brick as the power supply. Utterly ludicrous thing when compared to the PS4 of the time. But this is a nice little box. For starters, everything's internal. You've got no external power pack, so that's good. And, ooh. This is interesting, seeing this in the flesh. Right. I'll tell you, oh God, it's one of those plastics that just gets fingerprints on it instantly. Tell you why it's interesting. Kind of looks a bit like a slightly squarer PS4, doesn't it? They've really gone for that kind of two-edged, very black matte design, haven't they? Interesting. Do not move console without first removing any disc inside. It doesn't damage anything, it just really upsets us because we're weird like that. Right, so we've got a USB on the front, so that's handy because mine's at the side and a pain in the arse, if I remember. You've got a button there. You can press it, it clicks. What a time to be alive. It's a little thing for setting up your controllers, blah, 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 blah. I presume that's an ejector button. And on the back, the eject button's a good thing. My PS4 had that annoying problem with the, I don't know if you know this, but there's the hardware problem with PS4, where if you, how do you describe, like a touch-sensitive button, not one of the ones you press, but you just kind of put your finger on it and it does electrics and then, you know, works. Well, that stopped working completely and just constantly eject. And I had to actually go in, remove the switch, ultimately, after trying various different calibrations and fiddlings, and then I had to eject it manually, which was bloody awful. Dearie me. That still annoys me now. Anyway, you had HDMI out to TV, HDMI in from satellite cable box. Yep. Remember when that was the thing? Remember when the Xbox One was first launched and it was like, oh my god, guys, fuck games up the arsehole. This is all going to be about media and Kinect. And they never really implemented the media stuff. I did recently actually buy an add-on that allows you to plug an aerial into it and watch television. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't work very well at all. It felt half-baked and completely fucking unfinished years later. Thanks, guys. Also, I went and plugged the bloody Kinect in. Because if you remember, originally when the Xbox One was out, it had to come with Kinect until they actually released it, and because everyone was pissed off, and then they sold it without Kinect for a bit, and it turns out it wasn't integral to the system at all, and now, in fact, they've entirely done away with the entire fucking Kinect project. Yeah, I plugged it in the first time in ages to show my girlfriend the thing where you can control the screen with your hands. So I was like, oh, this is quite a good thing. They've done away with that. Seriously, like an update came down and it's just not on there anymore. It's like, fucking hell, boys. Anyway, yeah, you got a couple of USB at the back, which is good. Infrared out. You've got SPDIF for your nice optical audio and an Ethernet port, which is bloody important because, you know, if you want to get your best out of your internet, you want to be plugging in a cable and not using Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's a heavy box, but I tell you what, it's sleek and it looks nifty and it's so much nicer than my crappy original Xbox One. It's unbelievable. Haven't really come into contact with an Xbox One S at all. I don't know one person with one. I haven't seen it as yet, but they were very disappointed that the 4K playback of discs wasn't as good as like a standalone one. So I don't know. But they're very AV nerd kind of thing with this stuff, and it's the sort of thing where perhaps 99% of the population wouldn't give a monkey's toss. Well, there we go. It's a pretty pared-back box. You just get the absolute basics, and then you got your console to play with, haven't you? And you can spend all your time thinking, was it really worth that amount of money for playing a few games slightly higher def? Well, if you have got a 4K HDR television, and my goodness, the prices of them are dropping through the floor, it's something to use in order to, well, see if it works or not, really. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a 4K Blu-ray of something. I don't know what. Most of the ones I've seen so far seem to be copies of that recent Ghostbusters remake film. That's not something I particularly want to watch repeatedly. I'll buy one of those and then watch it once and go, oh, that was pretty, and then wait for the prices to come down, because frankly, the prices of them discs are crazy. So that's all that. Will these interstitial things work? They seem to be selling. I think this is the revised sales figures for this to be about double what they expected, which is mighty impressive. Well, no, it's a weird old thing, these console releases that are kind of an updated console, but are they not? Is this the way things are going to go in the future? Is it going to be these 100% backwards compatible with previous games, things with just slight improvements every few years, as opposed to releasing an actual new incompatible console? Well, only the elder gods themselves know, for only they can see into the future with clarity. Me, I'm going to see if I can put this back in the box really carefully and take it back to the shop and then maybe buy one in the future, again, when they're cheap and there's some games out.
Subscribe for more.